The Managebac Turnitin integration has had a few updates, allowing teachers to change the settings for Turnitin assignments directly from Managebac. In this video, we will look at how to create a Turnitin assignment on Managebac, change the settings so that you will no longer see warnings in place of the Similarity Index, allow students to see their Turnitin Similarity Index and avoid plagiarism, enable a built-in grammar check feature, and filter similarity report results. If you have any questions regarding plagiarism and BWA's stance on plagiarism, please reference the school's academic honesty policy. You can find the policy in the BWA faculty SharePoint under Policies and Procedures. To create a Turnitin assignment on Managebac, first navigate to one of your classes. Click Tasks at the top, then Add New Task. Type a name for your task, and then choose the category. Choose whether the task is formative or summative. Add a due date, choose Notify Students via email, and next, choose the Turnitin Feedback Studio. When you choose this, Dropbox is automatically ticked. Next, click Create Task. The next thing that you need to do is change the Feedback Studio settings for Turnitin. After creating a task, go to Tasks and find the task that you just created. Click on Feedback Studio. If you get an error, just reload the page or try clicking Feedback Studio again. It takes a few moments to create the task on the Turnitin side. Also, you may receive an error regarding a usage license. Just scroll to the bottom and click Accept License. This is just because it was the first time that you used Turnitin through Managebac. After you click Feedback Studio, you should see the drop-down menu in the top right. Click the drop-down menu and then choose Settings. At the bottom, choose Optional Settings. Under Optional Settings, you have many options to choose from. Once you choose these settings, you can save them as the default settings for your class. Unfortunately, you will need to change these settings for each of your classes, but once you set them, you won't need to change them again for the entire year. The first setting you will see is whether to store the students' papers in the Turnitin paper repository or database. If you do a lot of draft work through Managebac, then choose Do Not Store the Submitted Paper. This is because Turnitin will continue to check each draft against all of the students' uploads, which will give you high similarity index scores. When you do create a summative task, you can change this back for the summative only, and it will store the paper in the Turnitin repository. This means that all future submissions will be checked against the Turnitin database, and that means if a student shares their paper with another student in the following year, then Turnitin would be able to pick that up and notify you through the Turnitin Similarity Index. The next setting is Allow Late Submissions. Previously, when students turned in late submissions, Turnitin would give you a warning. If you allow late submissions, you will no longer see this warning. The next setting is the grammar checking. It's a good idea to enable this so that students can at least self-assess their grammar. You can choose whether this is a high school or middle school class, and then, to be fair, choose both US and UK dictionaries. And then you can leave the categories as they are. The following default settings are okay, unless you have preference for what Turnitin compares to, but generally you would want to compare against the paper repository as well as website content and periodicals, journals, and publications. Next, choose Allow Students to View Similarity Index so that students can be aware of where they may have intentionally or unintentionally copied from a source. As a teacher, you can choose to exclude parts of the submission from the Similarity Index, but it's a good idea to leave these unchecked. For example, if you choose Exclude Quoted Materials, then any parts of the document set off by quotes will not be included in the Similarity Index, which leaves large portions of the paper open to plagiarism because Turnitin does not see if the quoted materials has an attached in-text citation. Finally, choose Save these settings for future use and click Submit. Now let's take a look at what you as a teacher can filter within Feedback Studio and also what the grammar reports look like. Go to your task and choose one of the Similarity Index scores for your students. Here you can see that a student has a 100% similarity score. This is because the student has submitted the paper before to turn it in, probably as a draft. On the right, choose the Similarity Index. Then choose the drop-down menu next to the source with 100%. At the bottom, click Exclude Sources. Then tick the sources with the highest values. In this case, I will only tick the sources that are above 90%. Next, at the bottom, choose Exclude. Now I can see that there are still some similarities to previously submitted papers by BWA students, but when I look at these similarities, they're generally negligible. Next, you can check the ETS grammar check by clicking the ETS button. You can decide which results to show in the document, such as grammar or mechanics. ETS will code each issue, such as article error, passive voice, or sentence fragment, and make a suggestion based on the error. When students have access to their similarity index, they also have access to these features of Turnitin. So Turnitin can and should function as a teaching tool, where students can recognize plagiarism in their own work, as well as review grammar before submitting their final draft. If you have the time, take about 10 minutes at the beginning of a class to review a task through Feedback Studio with your students. Show them the similarity reports and how the bibliography is calculated into the score, and also how the ETS function works. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at my email, ldevilliers@ibwa.net.